Hello, everyone. This is Rounding Third with City Manager Michael Spurgeon. I am Aaron McCulloch, Director of Communications for the City of Broken Arrow. City Manager, thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you got to head over to meet some new employees here soon, so appreciate your time.
Oh, my gosh. I've been looking forward to this since last week when I saw it on my Outlook, Aaron. I just love the opportunity to talk everything about Broken Arrow. There's so much happening, and to get a few minutes with you is certainly a blessing and a great opportunity for me.
So you know how this works. We typically pick about 3 things that the City Council took action on during this month, during their meetings. And so the 3 things that we wanted to talk about were these traffic signal pole painting that we're doing, this project. We want to talk about an engineering firm that they agreed to a contract with the city. And then the third is about the housing and demographic study. So let's start first with the traffic signal poles. Some people like it, other people don't. We've seen we've seen some really good support on social media. Why are we doing this? Why is this important?
Well, I think there's many reasons why it's important. For the council and me, beautification is something that you really need to work into your public policy decisions. I mean, you spend millions of dollars on improvements, and if you don't take care of those improvements, you're going to end up spending much money much quicker than you normally would. And to me, the traffic signal poles and painting those poles says a lot about the pride that's within our community. It also talks about how the investments that we made with the traffic signals and the reinvestment. You know, we're a fast-growing community. We have businesses, we have citizens that are thinking about coming to Broken Arrow. And when they come into our community and they see a very clean community overall, they see that we've made investments in aesthetics and beautification. I think it says a lot about this is a place I want to be. And I've noticed there were unfortunately, some negative comments when we first announced the 10 that we were going to do. Since then, since people have had a chance to see what they look like, I've seen folks that have actually, they've rethought their position about how important this could be. And Broken Arrow has an incredible sense of pride. And so for us to be able to improve these intersections as well as add new gateways, as you know about, signage into our community, and then trying to place a high standard on how our community looks says a lot about who we are. And I think that sets a good message for not only people that are here, but also people that are considering Broken Arrow.
I really like it because it really creates an identity for our community. When you go outside our city limits, you see the silver poles, and just like we have, and a lot of them here, now we're turning them black, so that way whenever people come in, they're going to see it. When they come in on 91st Street off of Highway 169, 81st, 71st, of course, Washington, Houston, Kenosha, as we know them here, having that signage that says "Welcome to Broken Arrow," then seeing the black poles, they know that they're in Broken Arrow, and they know that there's a sense of pride. That's what I love about it, because it's kind of like home ownership. You take a sense of pride in your home and you invest in it, you reinvest in it and update it and make it look nicer. And that's essentially what we're doing here. Well,
New Orleans Square is a perfect example of the city reinvesting in an area that has been around for many decades. And look what's happened with the reinvestment that we made there. I can already tell you I've had so many positive comments about the intersections where we have painted, and obviously we have a couple of dozen more that we're going to be potentially doing whenever the weather's better. And I believe that overall, a large majority of our community thinks it's a good idea. I mean, obviously, when you're spending tax dollars, you want to try to be as transparent as possible, which means people have a right to have an opinion, and I respect those opinions. And for me, having your community look good, try to keep it as clean as possible, reinvest when you have the opportunity is really extremely important. And I use a very, very simple phrase. I call it the armor all on the tires. I mean, you wash your vehicle, put some armor on the tires. It's one of the first things people know. And when you're talking about trying to be a community that people are coming to or businesses coming to, I think this says a lot about our pride of our city, as I mentioned earlier.
I agree. Just some house cleaning here. The original contract called for 10 intersections to be done. The crew was able to get 7 of them done before the weather came in. This is a project in which you have to have consistently warm weather because of the paint that they're using. So they still have 3 more from that initial 10. Then we added 26 more, so that's going to be 36. We have 89 signalized intersections here in the city. 3 of the intersections along Aspen Avenue, 8 along Elm Place, 2 along Main, 7 along Lynn Lane, 2 along County Line. It's going to be difficult to go anywhere in the city without seeing these really nice looking traffic signal poles.
That's correct, and I would like to be able to to do as many as we can that we can afford to do. And so we'll look at the budget this year, and we'll determine if there's funds available to do additional signals outside of the ones we've either have completed or will be completing, so we can continue the process of trying to convert all of our traffic signals to be the exact same colors as the one we have downtown and those that we have or will be painting.
Switching gears, but still staying on future investments, Council agreed to a $449,000 contract with an engineering firm. The idea behind this is that engineering firm is going to help us with cost estimates and programming and that sort of thing as we get closer to the 2026 general obligation bond election. Why are we doing this? You've been part of general obligations in the past. How does this benefit us?
Well, when I got here in 2015, I learned quickly in early 2016 that we were going to need to go back to the voters for a bond package sometime in 2018. And we didn't have a lot of folks at the time. We've added a number of folks in our engineering construction department. When it came to preparing the estimates back then for the projects, Assistant City Manager Kenny Schwab, that pretty much fell on him and a couple of other people within engineering construction. And I can tell you he's amazing at what he does, but it's a matter of time. And we could be looking at another 100 or so projects, from road projects, sidewalks, curbs, stormwater, city buildings, community buildings, new fire stations. And to me, with all that we have going on in our community, I felt like I needed to recommend to the city council that instead of trying to get the estimates together internally, which we certainly can do for our road programs. But when you think about the estimates for parks, a potential community center, a fire station or two, having the latest numbers, not only what it would cost today, but remember, this would be a 10-year bond package, knowing what the time value of money is. And so just because something costs $1 million today, if it's on the priority to not be done to year 7, what does that look like in terms of putting estimates together, especially if it's a named project? If it's a named project, you have to complete that project and with either unnamed funds from the bond package or from some other revenue source that the city has. And so to me, with all the projects that are going to be in this potential package that will be presented to the council sometime in the summer of 2025, I felt like that we needed to engage a consulting and engineering firm that has a number of divisions within it, like Jacobs. And so they'll have a division that can focus on putting park and recreation estimates together, stormwater areas, city facilities. And so it just makes sense. And this package could be anywhere from $283 million, Aaron, up to maybe $350 million. So spending this type of money, just a few $100,000 actually, is a very, very small estimate considering the return that we're going to get with quality of life projects within our city. And so I'm very excited about the fact that council bought into that concept, unanimously approved the contract, so we'll be getting started the next couple of months.
You know, and you talk about the future planning and just how you got to look at those cost estimates. And it's not just what those materials or labor cost today, but what's it going to cost in the year 2033. And so you have to really look forward to that. That's going to take a lot of time. And so if our crew was to do that, then it would keep them from some of the daily operations that they need to do that maintains that quality of life here. Does that also play a part in why you have an outside firm so that we can continue to stay on course with our daily schedule?
Well, I call it capacity. I mean, each employee that works for the city or any organization has a certain amount of work they have to get done as a part of their normal 40 to 50-hour work week, and trying to put this on our staff, quite frankly, on top of everything they have going on right now with existing bond projects, with existing capital improvement projects. Our engineering construction department provides estimates, and that provides to support for all the other departments in our city. To me, it's just too much. And I can tell you, I want to send a shout out to Charlie Bright, because Charlie joined us before the pandemic, and he was very instrumental in helping make sure that the money we had approved in the 2018 bond package actually went as far as it did, because the cost of the buildings and facilities today, if we hadn't gotten those done early, then we would have had a tough time because the cost of construction has gone up. So we were able to get 5 city facilities, either new facilities or expansion of facilities done before the pandemic. And so estimates are incredibly important, not only today, but into the future. And I would like to have the team focused on the current bond package and support to the departments. And then we bring in a consultant that the engineering construction team can work with. They can give them the project sheets, I should say, and then we can go to the various entities like the History Center or the Senior Center that's looking for this type of project. We can make sure they're comfortable with that estimates based on what they'd like to see, and then I can put together this robust package to the council that it could be, I mean, I would have to say the total package could probably be $500 million, Aaron, with only 283 to 350 available. Just like in 2018, we had a $311 million package that we had to pare down because it's going to be no new taxes to $211 million. So estimates are very important, and having really good estimates so we can determine what those priorities be is my top priority when it comes to this bond package.
I'm really glad that you brought up the 2018 bond, because even though we're planning for 2026, we still have projects to do for 2018. And as a matter of fact, we still have 2 series of bond sales that we need to go this year and then again in 2025. How important is it to have that overlap to where you're finishing one up and then you're starting the planning process for another one, so that when one ends, you can start a whole new series?
We try to make it as seamless as possible. In other words, is that we'll issue bonds that it may include for this road widening project, because we have so many things to do. In this bond, we may issue the funds for the engineering construction to do the design as well as the right-of-way acquisition, and then the next year we'll issue the funds for the right-of-way relocation of our utilities, such as electric and PSO primarily. And so you try to phase it out, but it's very important that it try to be as seamless as possible, to where once a road project wraps up, like Washington, as we've talked about, is actually going to be wrapping up very soon. We've got other projects like Albany, County Line Road. All those projects are going to follow. And then the plan is shortly after those projects finish up, then you actually let the contract, for example, 209th or 37th, we're going to actually hopefully award that contract sometime by the end of May of this year. Then that contract gets awarded, that construction, because I will tell you, we try to time it, because honestly, when you do a road widening project or any type of project, could be sidewalks, could be stormwater, there's going to be some inconvenience associated with it. And I like to say is that sometimes progress does require a little bit of inconvenience, especially when you're doing a road project. And so we don't try to have so many parts of town all tied up at one time, because at a town of 120-some thousand now, I mean, there's a lot of traffic in our community, and trying to reroute folks is not as always easy as people think it is. And so we don't try to tie too many roads up at one time. Otherwise, social media blows up. The inconveniences that people have to face, it's one thing to have to be inconvenienced, but if they can't get around, then it's just going to make it much harder and much more difficult on the city.
And we have a lot more traffic because we have a lot more homes.
Yes.
And that brings us to our third point, and that is the housing and demographic study. You and council heard the preliminary report back on February 6th. We have a meeting coming up at the end of March 26th at Central Park Community Center, to where we're going to actually see the final report. One of the takeaways that I got out of this housing and demographic study was just how affordable Broken Arrow is to live, from rental homes to ownership. What was your takeaway so far from that? Was it home sales? Was it the affordability, population growth? What was it to you?
I think it's a little bit of all of it, quite frankly, Aaron. I did some research as a part of another initiative that I'm working on, and the median value of a home here in Broken Arrow is around $210,000, which puts us just a second in the state in terms of being the highest. We're about $15,000 per household unit below Norman. And so the quality of the homes here, from the starter homes up to the executive level homes, there's a good inventory for folks that say they're in a starting home that want to be moving into that mid-size home that maybe someday want to move into executive, or the mid-size home into the executive. You have to have that movement in order to have basically enough inventory available for your community. So to me, the study really it does two things. Number one, and you've heard me say this before, is that the responsibility of the council and the administration is to be providing the best public services that we can within the dollars we have available to our citizens and businesses that are here today. The other part of our responsibility is to be looking down the road and determining what type of development are we going to experience. And you do that based on previous development, the growth that you've experienced in your community. And the trends are Broken Arrow is going to continue to grow when we're probably about, I would say only about 50% of all of our available land that could be developed has been developed. And so looking at what type of housing could go on that land gives us an idea. Number one is that how are we going to service those properties? Are they on roads that need to be widened? Is there going to be a need for the water and or sewer services to be upgraded? We communicate with ONG and PSO because those are critical services as well. And probably most importantly is making sure the school district is aware of what potential growth there is, because obviously they've got to build their infrastructure around the growth that we're going to experience.
Where do you see the growth happening? I mean, as I look at a map, our fence line goes pretty far out to the east. Is that where you see possibly more of our growth happening?
Well, if you went up in a helicopter or a drone now, then we have several, and you took a look at Tulsa County, which Broken Arrow obviously quite a bit of it is in. You would see pockets of area where there is potential for development, and I would say to the southwest, to the southeast in Tulsa County, there is areas where you're going to see additional housing, additional commercial retail. But yes, as we in the next, I'd say 5 to 10 years, we're going to transition to where probably most of those pockets are potentially full of development. And then we're going to start transitioning to where the majority of it, if not all of it's going to be to the east of County Line Road, which will be in Wagner County. And you're exactly right. Our fence line goes out so far. And that's why we have worked really hard the last 6 or 7 years to build a strong relationship with the Wagner County Commissioners, Rural Water 4, for example, the Economic Development Authority they have over in Wagner County, as well as relationships with Coweta and the other cities over there, because Broken Arrow is heading that way. And so it's important that you have good relationships, because you're going to come together at some point. Like a lot of people may not know this that live in Tulsa County, is that Rural Water 4 services about 14,000 customers, which I would say, for argument's sake, maybe half of those right now are in the city of Broken Arrow, and that is their territory. And so we've got to have a good relationship, because they provide the water, we provide the sewer for just about everyone. And so we've got to be prepared for that. And the study looks at that potential growth. And so on the 26th, we'll take a look at the final results, and then we'll go forward accordingly.
And when you talk about that growth, and we'll start to wrap this up, looking out far east and all the opportunity for growth, how do you determine between commercial and residential? Is that where you fall back on the comprehensive plan that was adopted back in 2019 and let that guide you? How does that work? Well,
the comprehensive plan is a guide. It identifies what those properties should be, and then you have the zoning that coincides with it. And every now and then you'll run across a potential development where someone wants to come in and they want to do something completely different than what the property is listed in the zoning and the comprehensive plan, respectively. And that's when council has to make those difficult decisions. Is this what's best for the community? So yes, comprehensive plan is an amazing guide that gives you an idea of how to plan for what potential growth. But then there's things that come up. For example, the amphitheater was in our master plan for the Parks and Recreation at Events Park, and now we're actually seeing that come to reality. There's some property around there that will potentially is one could be one property that's zoned that now there may be another use for that property based on the support businesses that go along with that type of a private investment. And so it's really a guide, and it comes down to the Planning Commission, and the City Council working together, and then working in concert with the property owners about what, and as well as the community, because obviously the community weighed in on this, and there was about a third of the folks, Aaron, as you know, that would like to see Broken Arrow's growth slow down a little bit, whereas 2/3 of them basically said the porridge was just right, or they were okay with it. And so you got to balance out what everyone thinks, because with additional growth, I mean, there's some amazing things that can happen, such as the amphitheater or more shopping locally to keep our tax dollars here, because that's the main source of revenue we have for general fund operations, police, police, fire, public safety, parks and recreation, is sales tax. And so, but then again, with that comes additional traffic, additional needs for water and sewer. So all that's got to be looked at, and you got to plan accordingly.
Oh, a lot of amazing things happening in our community.
Absolutely. Couldn't be happier. It's an exciting time. I love the community's engagement. I love that we do the podcasts and the videos and the news releases to keep everybody posted on what's happening, because it's important. And that's why I'm going to let you close it out, because we need folks to come out on the 26th and hear what's going on.
That's right. We'll have more information on that a little bit later, probably mid-March, and you'll be able to find some of that information on our website. And we really do like the community engagement that we get. And so we really do hope that folks come out. So with that, thank you for your time. I know you've got to run out of here. Say hello to the new employees for us, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, we started this a couple of years ago, a luncheon for those folks that have been here about 90 to 120 days. I get to introduce myself and say hi and see what's going on and answer some of their questions. I mean, we're an organization now, Aaron, as you know, that we've got approximately 1,000 full-time employees. And so one of my self-actualization is to get to know all of them in some way and make sure that I get some time with all of them. And this is just an exciting time. Probably one of the highlights of my week, actually.
Well, there will be a quiz later for you to name their names. Appreciate your time. We'll see everybody around town, the city where opportunity lives.
The Vibe Broken Arrow is produced by the City of Broken Arrow. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to hear more about Broken Arrow, the city where opportunity lives.